Before dawn broke over Silverthorn Peak, Maya Santiago stood on the icy ridge, her breath streaming in platinum clouds. The sky, once a pale lavender, had deepened to slate as a violent blizzard churned in from the north. Snow slashed sideways, driven by gusts exceeding 30 knots, reducing the world to a disorienting swirl of white. Maya's three clients, veteran alpinist Carlos Vega, biologist Priya Menon, and rookie climber Jack Reynolds, pressed close against the jagged granite outcrop. Each wore layered Gore-Tex shells, harnesses tethered to Maya's central line, and helmets rigged with headlamps, whose beams were swallowed by the storm. Their crampons bit into the wind-polished ice, but each step felt perilously unstable. On the ridge's leeward side, a collapsed snow cornice groaned under the weight of fresh drift. Snow depth had already reached waist level in sheltered pockets, and Lord's powder, dry, crystalline snow, whistled through ice screws like a silent alarm bell. Maya surveyed the horizon through her goggles. The GPS unit in her pocket flickered, "No fix," and her radio crackled only with static punctuated by howling wind. Any compass bearing was hopelessly skewed by the storm's magnetic interference. Carlos tightened his grip on the ice axe. "Visibility's down to 10 meters," he shouted, voice nearly lost. Priya's gloves were numb as she rubbed her fingers against her face, trying to keep circulation. Jack's face, pale beneath his balaclava, reflected the miasma of snow flurries. Maya exchanged a look with each of them. Their ascent had aimed for the summit's small stone cairn, but now that marker was invisible in the whiteout. With the blizzard intensifying, winds gusting into the gully below, they risked avalanche and disorientation if they pressed on blindly. "This storm came on too fast," Maya said, voice steady, despite her own rising concern. She tapped her watch. 10:37 a.m. Daylight was slipping away. "We'll hunker down against that outcrop," she gestured toward a rocky bulge a few paces east. "Shelter there until we can get bearings or the wind eases." As the four climbers steered carefully across the ridge, Loki, Maya's black Labrador guide dog for the blind, slid alongside her boot. Though snow whirled around his sleek coat, he moved with calm assurance, sensing stability in the storm's chaos. Maya patted his harness. "Good boy," she murmured. With snow piling around their feet and storm clouds pressing in, the team braced for a long, uncertain wait, unaware that from the same ridge would come an otherworldly howl to light their way home. By 11 a.m., Silverthorn Peak's storm showed no sign of relenting. The four climbers huddled behind the jagged outcrop Maya had chosen, its dark granite face offering scant shelter as wind-blown snow piled around their legs. Visibility hovered near zero, each flake a miniature shard of glass reflecting her headlamp's beam. Compass needles spun wildly under the storm's electromagnetic sheen, and the GPS, buried in Maya's parka pocket, displayed only searching. Carlos Vega, teeth chattering in his insulated balaclava, peered out at the shifting white. "I can't see the ridge," he shouted, voice muffled by wind. Priya Menon checked her altimeter. 4,200 meters. Just 200 meters below the summit they'd sought. But without bearings, that point could lie in any direction. Jack Reynolds huddled next to Maya, numb fingers twisting anchor carabiners. "We're drifting," he breathed. "I feel like we're slipping off." Maya pressed a gloved hand to Jack's shoulder. "Stay calm," she said firmly. She consulted her watch. 11:05 a.m. They'd been stalled nearly half an hour. Below them, a gaping cornice threatened to collapse onto a serac, another unseen danger in the swirling white. Each gust of wind rattled loose snow from overhead ledges, and the avalanche risk soared into the extreme category. They tried shouting compass headings, north, east, south, using handheld radios, but the static drowned their voices. The only sound was the wind's howl, punctuated by the creak of ice screws bending under new snow. Even their avalanche beacons, meant to cut through blizzard mayhem, flickered with low battery warnings, power drained by the cold. Maya drew in a breath of bitter air and summoned the team's last strategy. "We need a signal, a guide. If we can't find the path, we'll find something else that can." She pulled a rescue whistle from her chest pocket and blew 3 sharp bursts. Each blast vanished into the storm's roar. The climbers repeated. Blasts, then silence. No helicopter rotor, no rescue party answer. As they waited in near-frozen stillness, Maya felt Loki press against her leg, his fur dusted with powder. Then, faint but unmistakable, came a mournful cry, a single echoing howl that rose above the wind, resonating through the whiteout like a living beacon. Jack's eyes widened in disbelief. "What is that?" he gasped. Maya's heart leapt. "A wolf!" she shouted, voice triumphant. "He's above us on the ridge. He's howling to locate his pack." In that moment, blinded by whiteout and stripped of tools, they chose to trust nature's sentinel, following the wolf's call to find their way back to safety. Maya's team huddled against the gusting flurry when the storm's howl was pierced by a lone, resonant wolf call. The first note, a long, mournful ululation, rolled across the ridge like ancient thunder. It struck Maya's ears through the whiteout as a clear, unbroken cry, ending in a quivering echo that faded into the blizzard's roar. Carlos pressed his mittened hand to his ear. "Is that a wolf?" he yelled, voice scarce above the wind. Priya's eyes, wide beneath frosted lashes, tracked the swirling snow in the direction of the sound, north-northeast, the way they'd come. Jack, trembling, planted his ice axe in the snow for purchase. "It's beautiful," he breathed, awestruck by the purity of the howl amidst chaos. The wolf's call came again. 2 more long notes, each separated by a 5-second pause and carrying slightly higher in pitch. Maya felt the low-frequency vibrations rumble through her boots. She recognized the pattern from her wildlife biology days. The territorial howl of a lone gray wolf, seeking its pack along a familiar ridgeline corridor. 3 notes, pause, 2 notes, Maya said, counting on her gloved fingers. "He's calling from the summit ridge, exactly where we need to be. If we move toward those echoes, we'll hit the main route." Her voice, though strained by wind, brimmed with conviction. Jack squared his shoulders. "I'll follow any damned wolf to safety," he shouted with newfound resolve. On the ridge above them, the wolf's voice rang out a third time, a powerful 5-note sequence that seemed to draw the very storm around it into stillness. Maya signaled her team, "Line up behind me, tethered on rope. Move north-northeast toward the sound, slowly and steadily." One by one, they formed a tight line, crampons digging into slick ice, each step guided by the wolf's haunting chorus. Above the wind and swirling flurries, that lone wolf's howl became their living compass, an ancient pathfinder's call that cut through blizzard disorientation and led them forward, single file, toward the summit ridge and the promise of rescue beyond the storm's frozen grip. Maya pressed fingers to her temple, ear straining through the roar of wind and snow. Behind her, Jack, Carlos, and Priya formed a tight line, each tether clipped to the next. The lone wolf's call had sounded again, a deep, resonant ululation that rose through the blizzard, paused, then dropped into 2 shorter notes. Maya's voice crackled over the wind's white noise. "He's giving us coordinates." From her pack, she produced a small digital recorder, an unexpected remnant of her field biology days, and replayed the wolf's howl. On the recorder's waveform display, she identified 3 peaks, spaced 4.2 seconds apart, followed by a 6.5-second pause, and then 2 peaks, 3.8 seconds apart. Each pulse carried the signature of an echo off the summit's twin spires, Silverthorn's most distinctive feature, hidden now by swirling snow. Maya pointed toward the swirling drift. That first note, 4.2 seconds, echoed once off the ridge wall behind us. The second series, 3 beats, reflects the distance to the north spire. The 2-beat echo comes from the southern buttress. She tapped her altimeter. 4,200 meters. If we angle our route toward that echo convergence, we'll intersect the main path at the cairn. That's where rescue teams will be searching. Carlos tightened his grip on his ice axe. "So we're using a wolf's howl like a sonar ping?" he shouted over the storm. Maya nodded, voice firm. "Exactly. Nature's own echo map." She raised her compass, now nearly magnetic-free beneath the storm's charge, and oriented herself by matching the wolf echo timings to her mental map of ridge features. In practice, the line moved as Maya called each bearing forward 30 meters on a 20-degree incline. Listen. 1, 2, 3. Each howl guided them, the echo intervals narrowing the corridor of safe passage. Priya's voice cut through the wind. I hear it! And the team adjusted their heading slightly left. Jack pressed his cold, numb cheek against Maya's pack to listen. Got it. Heading there. Step by painstaking step, they slogged through waist-deep powder, each footfall measured against the wolf's next call. At 11:35 a.m., Maya halted them. Last howl, final echo, she said, eyes bright. The cairn must be just over that rise. She tapped the recorder's display. All 5 peaks now overlapped within 2 seconds, the telltale sign that they'd converged on the wolves' perch and the true summit ridge. Collectively, they exhaled, voices lost to the storm's howl, but hearts buoyed by certainty. Guided not by failing technology, but by the primal echo of a lone wolf, Maya and her team prepared to push forward, to follow nature's compass up to the cairn, and from there to the safety of the emergency hut and the rescuers who would soon arrive. Continuous howls from the ridge had become their living GPS, leading them home through the whiteout's frozen maze. Spurred by Maya's confidence, the team rose from their stubby ice axe anchors and pressed into the swirling white. Loki, the black Labrador guide dog, padded at Maya's side, his head swiveling toward each distant howl. With every echo, Maya adjusted their course, sometimes a few degrees left, other times right, navigating through hidden crevasses and wind-scoured cornices. Carlos led the rope line over a shallow gully, each step confirmed by the wolf's next cry. 3 beats, pause, 2, Maya would call, matching her pointing arm to the wind-borne echo. Priya balanced her pack against powder drift, trusting each howl to keep their line true. Jack followed closely, his crampons biting into the crusted snow as he kept his gaze laser-focused on Maya's stabilizing presence. Twice they stumbled into wind hollows, where snow swirled in blinding vortices. Each time, the wolf's mournful ululation cut through the roar like a living lighthouse, rallying them to reorient. That's it, Maya murmured, voice steady. Up the slope, 40 meters. Step by measured step they climbed, the frozen wind tugging at their gait, and the echo map becoming more precise with each call. At 11:50 a.m., Loki suddenly halted, his ears erect against the gale. 3 familiar howls rang out, more distant yet unmistakably converging. Beside them, a dark shape emerged, the weathered wood of the emergency hut's roof, barely visible above the drifts. Maya exhaled in relief. We're home, she shouted, her voice lost in the wind, but her joy evident in her shouts. Inside the hut's wind-jammed vestibule, they found stacked rations, survival bags, and a VHF radio. Maya keyed the mic. Expedition safe at hut, awaiting pickup. The wolf's final howl echoed across the ridge, answered faintly by the crackle of a base camp radio. Copy that. Rescue chopper inbound ETA 20 minutes. As the team settled into the hut's relative warmth, their frost-bitten faces reflected amazement. Carlos opened a thermal blanket, Priya checked her pulse rate, and Jack brewed a hastily concocted tea from pre-packed sachets. Outside, Loki paced the threshold, ears pricked toward the ridge where Silverthorn's summit stood concealed by clouds. In those precious moments of reprieve, Maya knelt beside Loki and ran her gloved hand along his back. Your howl, his howl, saved us, she whispered. The wolf's echo had been their compass, guiding them through the blizzard's lethal maze. And as the wind keened outside, they understood that, even in the most desolate storm, the primal voice of a lone wolf could shine a guiding light back to safety. Outside the emergency hut, the storm's fury waned as gray pre-dawn light seeped through ragged clouds. Snow fell in gentle flakes, reducing the whiteout to a soft, muffled quiet. Maya stepped onto the wooden threshold, her breath fogging before her goggles. Below, in the valley beyond the cairn, she heard the distant thrum of rotor blades cutting through the cold air. Chopper moving in, she shouted into the VHF mic, voice hoarse but triumphant. The rescue helicopter, its red and white fuselage etched against slate sky, appeared over the ridge, searchlight beam dancing across the drives of drifted snow. Its skids carved shallow troughs as it settled into a hover directly above the hut's flat roof, the downdraft whipping snow into swirling halos around the craft. Maya helped her clients form a single file on the icy rooftop ladder. Jack clambered up first, legs shaking but proud, followed by Priya leaning on her trekking poles for balance. Then Carlos securing his pack beneath the winch cable. Loki, ever brave, sat obediently as Maya clipped into the SAR harness, her heart pounding as the winch cable dropped through the open hatch. At 6:47 a.m., the first passenger, a rescue paramedic, descended into the hut, greeting them with warm smiles and a steaming hot water bottle. The winch cable hummed again, lifting Jack clear before Priya and Carlos followed in quick succession. Maya reached her hands through the hatch as the paramedic guided her into the harness. With a gentle tug, the winch motor drew her upward into the swirling rotor wash. Snow and ice pistoned downward as Maya broke the hut's rim and emerged into the cabin's warmth. She collapsed into the paramedic's arms, tears streaming down her frost-nipped cheeks. Through the side window, she saw Jack, Priya, and Carlos, strapped onto stretchers inside, their faces pale but smiling. Loki, secured in a special dog crate, stared at Maya with bright, trusting eyes. As the helicopter lifted free from Silverthorn's ridge, Maya pressed her palm against the window, watching the emergency hut shrink into a snow-whitened speck. Below, the summit cairn rose like an island of stone amid swirling drifts. In that moment, she whispered her gratitude, a fierce thank you to the lone wolf, whose ridgeline howls had carved a path through the storm and brought her team back to the world of rescue and warmth below. By 7:05 a.m., the helicopter banked east toward base camp, carrying Maya, her clients, and Loki toward heated blankets and hot cocoa. The dawn's pale light glinted off the rotor blades, a testament to the partnership of human skill and nature's own beacon, a howl that had turned a blizzard's trap into a triumphant rescue in whiteout conditions. By mid-morning, the rescue helicopter had deposited Maya, her clients, and Loki at the snowbound ranger station, and word of their survival had already spread through base camp via crackling radios. Wrapped in heated blankets and sipping hot chocolate, the team recounted their ordeal, how each wolf howl had carved an invisible path through the whiteout, guiding them from near-certain disaster to salvation. Captain Reyes, leader of the Mountain Rescue Unit, presented Maya with a specially engraved compass, a token of gratitude for turning an impossible situation into a coordinated evacuation. "We trained for every scenario," he said, voice thick with respect, "but never for a wolf's howl as our guide." Maya accepted the compass with a nod, touching the inscription. Guided by Silver's Call, September 14th, 2025. Later that afternoon, as the snow ceased and the sky cleared to reveal Silverthorn Peak in all its jagged glory, Maya led her team and a contingent of rangers back up the ridge for one final tribute. They traced their steps through now settled drifts, each footprint a reminder of the path lit by those echoing 5 notes. Jack and Priya carried lanterns, their light reflecting off icicles that clung to wind-scoured rock faces. Carlos carried the engraved compass high, its needle steady toward the summit cairn, now visible in the waning daylight. At the cairn, the party paused. Maya knelt and placed a handful of wolfberry sprigs, harvested in the valley below, at the stone's base. Loki sat beside her, ears alert, as Maya whispered her gratitude into the silent air. "Silver, thank you." Behind them, rangers snapped photographs, capturing the moment when human courage and an ancient howl had intertwined. As dusk fell, they built a small memorial, a weatherproof plaque affixed to the cairn, depicting a lone wolf mid-howl against a stylized mountain silhouette. The inscription read, "Here, Silver's Howl, guided lost climbers to safety. In memory of nature's compass on Silverthorn Peak." A gentle breeze stirred the flag of the expedition, and from a sheltered ledge above, Maya thought she heard a faint, distant echo, 5 notes fading into the twilight sky. Whether real or born of hope, the sound sealed the legacy of a lone wolf, whose primal art became the miracle that saved them all. As they made their descent by headlamp, Each member carried with them not only the memory of fear and relief, but the enduring truth that sometimes, in the fiercest storm, the wildest voices can light the way home.